Welcome to the Selah Sabbath Studies, where ancient truths meet modern life. Each week, we pause, on purpose, to reflect on the Old Testament, the only scriptures the New Testament believers had. We don't just study the text, we mark their steps and seek to walk as they did, finding ancient wisdom that still speaks today. It's timeless. What you are about to hear is a portion of our live Sabbath study, recorded in our Selah Sabbath room on the Clubhouse app. If you'd like to join us live for future sessions or ask questions in real time, just search Selah Sabbath on Clubhouse. Let's listen in. Let's keep going. So we're in Deuteronomy 8. I believe I stopped at verse 6. So keep the commandments of the Lord your God by walking in his ways and fearing him. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with streams, springs, and deep water sources flowing in both valleys and hills, a land of wheat, barley, vines, figs, and pomegranates, a land of oil and honey, a land where you will eat food without shortage, where you will lack nothing, a land whose rocks are iron, and whose hills you will mine copper. This is the inheritance that Elohim says he's leaving, that he has promised to Abraham. And when you think about how Elohim created in Genesis and put everything together, and then on day 6 created man, gave him dominion over all of those things, then created a garden and placed him in it. There is something about wealth and about land that is amazing, that I don't know that every culture truly understands. And there is enough land for everybody in this earth. I just told you this guy in Zambia has 900 hectares. And there are many other places in the world where there's lots and lots of land. The U.S. has lots of land still. Depends on where you go. But he said he's bringing you this promised land that he's been talking about. And so in verse 7, when he says he's bringing you into a good land, a land with streams, springs, and deep water sources. Now we can pump water out of the ground. We can filter out and recycle wastewater, and it's drinkable. But water is life. We take for granted in Western countries that you can just turn on your faucet and have clean drinking water. Not so around the rest of the world. And again, I want us to shift and think about the way that Elohim has created wealth and what wealth is. And there is abundance of it in this earth. We don't have to fight over and be jealous of other people who have wealth. People. There's enough for us to attain. And so when he says it has streams and springs and deep water sources flowing in both valleys and hills, a land of wheat, barley, vines, figs, and pomegranates, a land of olive and honey. When you can eat from your own backyard and you do not have to go to the grocery store. I know some of us, who has time to plant? Get that out of your mind for a moment and just think about if you never had to go to the grocery store again. The only thing I think I would miss is pizza if I never had to eat out again. But traveling a lot, I've kind of learned to change the way that I eat. Pizza is still an indulgence for me that I adore. But when I think about, Charles and I have been talking about, we want to buy some land. And he's always loved land and buying land. But now we're talking about getting acres, right? So that we can have some cows and set up a little chicken place, because we love to eat eggs in the morning. And he teasing me that he's going to leave me on the farm with his mom. She has 3 cows, and they're going to teach me how to milk the cows and how to carry a water jug on my head and how to wash clothes in the river. Can I crack up laughing? I'm like, you are crazy. You are never leaving me there. The idea that we could have land and have cows for meat, lamb, goat, raise some vegetables, have some chickens for eggs. And of course, we love chickens, although I cannot kill a chicken and pluck it, but he can. So I'm very happy about that. You can have some fruit trees. Esther and I were talking about how you only need a small portion of land to grow coffee, right? You guys, oh man, if I could grow my own coffee, and you just roast it out, have your own little. I'm like, I just wouldn't leave. And I know we make fun of these. What do we call them in the States? These people who are survivalists, or there's another phrase we have for them where they're bunkering down for. They built bunkers underneath the ground and stuff like that, but they're living on powdered food. I'm not talking like that, but I mean the ability to never have to go to the grocery store again. Tell me, off the grid. Thank you. Thank you, face. Just living off the grid. How much money would that save you? Gas, taxes, everything. You had clean water from your own well. That's what I do like here. Like a lot of the people are drinking water from the boreholes. They drill a well, right? And so imagine if you were able to pass that continual wealth on to your children and your children's children. That you could provide and feed your family all. You'd never go hungry. And there was a time when I was in Vietnam that I was kind of getting into the sustainable thing. And I had some rabbits and some ducks, and duck eggs are actually really yummy, by the way. And thinking about growing vegetables and also just and to live off and I mean, they didn't have grocery stores then, but think of what kind of money that would save you. And I was joking, I was spending some time with family this past week and Charles's family. And they're like, yeah, you have to work and do this. I'm like, no, you guys just let me work on the laptop and make money. And then I'll pay somebody to go to get the water, to milk the cows, to make the bread, all that. I'm okay with moving money and wealth around like that. But to know that you have all of these things within your own hands to make your own food. Think about the epitome of wealth that could be. Mia, you came up. I wasn't sure if you wanted to say something or you were just joining us on the stage so we wouldn't be lonely.
Really, I was just joining. Sabasalon, everyone. I did have some thoughts regarding what you spoke about. And my thought is that the earth belongs to the Lord and thereof all things, because he created the earth. When he spoke to Abraham and made promises to Abraham's seed, and he also said he would be the father of many, many nations. So I don't think there is one particular land. I mean, there is a land, but it's not for one particular group of people. It is for all those who are of Abraham's seed, those many nations. I do also look at wealth a little different than I did, I guess, in my younger years. I desired, I guess, like other people, the big, big house and the cars and the fancy clothes and all those things. But I no longer desire those things because as I see time passing and I see so many changes in the world with technologies and things thereof, and I see things a little bit different than I did back at that time. That is not my desire anymore, to obtain treasures or material things. I would like to store my treasures in heaven. Also, because I look forward to a new kingdom in which all this old stuff that we desire is no longer going to be here. So my desire right now is for understanding. My hunger is for wisdom, to knowing God and knowing what his purpose is for my life. Also, when we talk about wealth, I believe in my mind that Yahuwah, when he created man, he created them with the ability, with certain gifts and talent that they will be able to create community wealth, that abundance that could meet the needs of their community, not just their self. However, and we're in such a demonic system where those who have the most controls those who have the least. Even though these people have these gifts within them to create wealth, they're unable to create it because they're never really able to actualize their full potential because of the depression, because of the greed, like you say in Africa, in America, and all other countries, because of the greed and the selfishness of those who have wealth, generational wealth. So it goes from one generation to another generation of this same spirit. So I think that for me, I'm going back to my desire to obtain the most precious thing, and that is to see the king, to see the king. That is my heart's desire above all. I would give it all up just to see the king. And that's what I'm just gonna that's my ad for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nia, for that ad. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. We love having conversation in this room and having open dialogue in this room. And I don't disagree with anything that Nia said. As we were talking and saying before, what is wealth to you? Right? And so, however you define wealth is however you define wealth to you. And so, we're going to continue on this conversation about wealth. And I have, from reading the scriptures, and as we're going to be talking today, when I started the room, I said this too, is that I believe that wealth is what we can leave. Hold on, let me close this door. For our children's children. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And that's really where we see wealth. What are you leaving behind? What are you leaving for the next generation? Because I think you can be rich, but I think that wealth is really something different. And we're going to keep looking at these scriptures and having this discussion. And I'm challenging you. Where are you in your wealth walk? And when I'm talking about wealth right now, I'm talking about if you die today, what have you left for those behind you? Have you left anything? And how can you change that? Because I don't believe for any of us it is ever too late to do that. And when we see, as we continue in Deuteronomy 8, how Elohim defines wealth, how he defines goodness, it's amazing. And so because we're in such a different culture, we have to think about, and it really depends. I mean, in Africa now, and having been in Asia for a long time, and now in Africa, this understanding of land, being able to provide for yourself. What I'd say is if you're in a Western world and you've had a different upbringing, and if you never had to pay for gas again in your car, if you never had to pay for lights, for your phone bill, for your water bill, ever again, never had to pay rent ever again. Wow. Just think about that. Wow. Could you get yourself to that place? And could you get yourself to that place and then be able to leave it for your children's children? That's what we're talking about here in Deuteronomy 8. And I love the fact that Nia talked about people being given different gifts to do things, because we're getting to Deuteronomy 8, right? 8:18, about the power to get wealth. But I think all of this before we get there is so important. So when you and I are listening and you're hearing him talk about a good land with streams, springs, and deep water flowing in both valleys and hills, a land of wheat, barley, vines, figs, and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land where you will eat food without shortage, where you will lack nothing, a land whose rocks are iron and whose hills you will mine for copper. Just think about if you could put all of your bills on auto pay and never have to worry that anything would bounce. You always could put gas in your car. Your light bill was always paid. Water bill was always paid. Rent was always paid. You didn't have to go to the grocery store. Like everything you needed to eat and you could create was right there available for you. How wealthy would you be? Imagine being able to leave that for generations behind you. Can we get to this place before Elohim returns for us? Now, he could come back next month, but I don't think that should stop us from getting on that journey of understanding what wealth is and what we need to do to be responsible for that. Because all the time you're going to hear as we continue in Deuteronomy, the reason that this is done is, yes, because he made a promise to their ancestors, but they are supposed to be a light in the nation, in the world, nation, to other nations. Other people should look at them and say, they have a good God. Is that being said about you? Is that being said about you? If someone walked into your home, walked into your property, spent a day with you, and I'm not talking about how well your prayer language is. I'm not talking about how many scriptures you know, because none of that is defined by Elohim as what wealth is. None of that is what he says to them will let other nations know that they serve the one and true living God. So, and I don't want us to be focused on material things, because again, wealth is so much more than there will absolutely be a whole change in your demeanor, in the way you talk with people, in the way you live your life, if all of your bills were always paid for you in full and you had plenty. If you just think about yourself right now, in the next 2 hours, that switch was made for you. This is how you could go. Bills on auto pay, always gas in the car, always food that you need. What would happen?
Some will still be broke at that level. Some will still be very broke, not wealthy, with all bills paid, with everything sorted, no installment of anything, because it goes beyond. For us, wealth is your investment, the investment of yourself you make on others, the investment of ourselves we make on our children, that when we are gone, they have the investment of us. Jesus says to a man, go sell everything you have and follow me. Meaning, go invest of yourself on others, and then come follow me. The man could not do it because he could not invest of himself on others. Wealth is what we have invested on others, is what we leave with others, which is an investment of ourselves, not the bills. You can have all your bills paid and still be broke. You can have everything sorted and have all kinds of monies in the bank and still be broke. Wealth is our health. You can have all the money you have and still not be able to move an inch, because you're bound by sickness, bound by affliction, by infliction, bound by destruction. But as soon as I have my wealth, I have an investment. The opportunity I get to speak to others is an investment of myself. That is wealth. You may not live in the best of houses, but be wealthy. You may live in the best of houses and be very broke. Wealth is those that are around me, that I have. They are my wealth. They are the reason I can say I'm wealthy, based on those that surround me, that are with me, that are always there for me. That's wealth. I mean, I can go on and on, but the subject of wealth is subjective. But the read makes it plain. This man could not sell anything. The Bible says he went back angry. He went back disappointed because he was so broke that he could not even release the brokenness or share it with others. I'm sorry. Regina, I just had to jump in like that because thinking about all the, I love paying bills because it's a reminder that I'm still human. I love having to deal with things that are not coming together because it's still a reminder that I need help from above. I'm still human. It is life and it is worth to still continuously solve problems and be a solution where there's none. That's wealth. The investment of knowledge. In Hosea 4, verse 9, it says, my people are perishing, they're destroyed because they lack what? Knowledge. They're ignorant. So you have instances where ignorance has gone on rampage. People know nothing. My children are wealthy. And even at this age, they've started making an investment of wealth on others. This is an investment of themselves, them impacting others with what they've received from mother and father, which is wealth. At this age, there's certainly no age, really, no age restriction. So wealth is me investing of myself on others, or us investing of ourselves on others. So there's a lot of self that must be broken there. That's wealth. We've seen money fail. I can talk about money failing many times where you have money, you still can't have something done with all the monies that are needed. Still can't be done. Why? Because though money answereth all things, that line is also subjective. Regina?
I'm so glad you got provoked to say something. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I love it. 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 And that's good because I'm telling you that our conversation on wealth and poverty is going to continue for a few weeks. Because although I have said the things that I just read in Deuteronomy, I see you, Nia. I'm going to come to you in a moment. He's bringing you to good land with streams, springs, deep water sources, a land of wheat, barley, vines, figs, pomegranate, a land of olive and honey. Do you know that the honey is just not going to hop out of the hive all by itself? You can't make bread unless you go harvest the wheat and you ground it up and you bake it. Like there is work that has to be done within the wealth that system is given to you. So yes, MD, go ahead.
If I can jump in and something valuable comes to my mind, our neighbors is Zimbabwe, right? When the white people were chased out of Zimbabwe, they didn't take them trucks, they didn't take them land, they took nothing. Do you know what they left with? Wealth, knowledge. With all the lands that they have right now, with all the trucks and whatever that they have, and they still have in their nation, they can't do nothing on those lands. They have no wealth of knowledge to carry out the work. They are in South Africa working as garden men and garden boys and helpers. Do you understand? The white people left the materials, the resources were left. Wealth of knowledge was taken. They went with them in the buses or planes, whatever they took to live. Wealth is subjective. Zimbabwe is broke, yet it's so rich, so wealthy, with so many resources. And I pray for South Africa not to follow the same route. I rest the mic.
Amen. Yes. And I hope you're seeing that this discussion on wealth is not going to be about material things. And when I was trying to get you to think about the idea that your bills are on auto pay, something still has to generate that. I just hadn't gotten to that level yet. But if you could just open your mind, because when I want you to think about, when you think about wheat and barley and figs and pomegranates and deep springs and lands of olive oil and honey, where you will eat food without shortage, where you will lack nothing, a land whose rocks are iron and whose hills you will mine copper. There's work that has to be done. There's knowledge, like MD brought up. Thank you for bringing that up. That knowledge is all part of wealth. It's an intricate system. And this is part of the reason that you can pass it on to your children, because you got to train them. You have to train them. You can't just give them the money without the knowledge, the experience, the wealth. And that's why we can see, families that have money for histories and days, and the younger the generations come, the more stupid they get. Because the wisdom and the knowledge was not passed on to them. The work ethic was not passed on to them. This is not the case in what Elohim is talking about. There is a whole wealth it's woven into so many aspects. But I need to get us to the place, especially if you don't live in a country where you understand land and farming and food and water and I want to get you to that place. Like, okay, what if that was just all in your backyard? Of course, you have to work for it. Farming is very hard work. Raising animals. I remember even just raising my little rabbits, and one time something went through the place and half of them died. They got sick. They were having diarrhea. There's work to be done. And at some point, I remember I printed out like the first part of Deuteronomy 28, and I put it on the wall because I was like, my animals are not supposed to be sick. Is what I was saying to God. Like, you need to give me the wisdom, understand how to take care of them and what to do. Thank you, MD, for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we are going to so get into all of the responsibility of those things. Nia, go ahead.
Well, I did have something to say, but after listening to MD and you, Regina, it's going deeper into the study, I'm just going to listen at this time. It is so good. Thank you.
Okay. MD, love it when you join in. Anyone else? Raise your hand, come on up, make a comment. This discussion about wealth is not as superficial as you may think. And it is a woven fabric. Because when Elohim, when he says, I don't know if you caught that. We got to go back to, where's my mouse? Okay, here it is. Deuteronomy. Let's start at the beginning again. I want you to hear this. Carefully follow every command I'm giving you today, so that you may live and increase and may enter and take possession of the land the Lord swore to your ancestors. Listen, there is an obligation that you have to be obedient to things that Elohim put in place. For you to live, for you to increase, for you to enter, for you to take possession, that is all action verbs on your part individually. There are things that you must do. It's not that wealth is just going to, and even when he brings them into the land, they still have to war. They still have some action that is necessary. And once they get into this land, if you don't tend to the vines, tend to the olive trees, if you don't dig up the weeds, if you don't drill for the water, if you don't harvest the wheat and knead it into bread, you're going to starve. And MD gave a perfect example of Zimbabwe. Just bread basket. I mean, you can drop a seed on the ground and it'll flourish. I mean, just rich. But their knowledge, their bickering, same thing here in Kenya is very tribal. I did not realize how tribal they are as a people. And when I was in Vietnam, Esther used to tell me too about the different tribes, because if you're not raised in the land, it's hard for you. And I think it's just all of Africa. If you're not raised in the land, you can't tell who is what tribe, but Charles can see the name. And he's, oh, they're Luya. Oh, they're Kikuyu. Oh, they're, Lua. He can tell by their names. Same thing Esther used to tell me, that people could tell by the names which tribe you are from. And then you faced either, acceptance or rejection or prejudice based on that. And so here you have this group of people, and they've got tribes. They've got Levi, and they have Reuben, and they have Manasseh and Ephraim, and they have Judah, and they have Issachar. Each tribe with their skills, their positions, their things that they're supposed to do, and they had to work together. Listen, wealth is a community thing. Wealth is a family thing, the way that Elohim has put this together. He's going to give you commandments that you have to follow, that you may live, increase, enter, take possession. You have to do some things. And so verse 2, remember that the Lord your God led you on the entire journey, these 40 years in the wilderness, so that he might humble you and test you to know what is in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commandments. And I started to say to you guys early on, where are you in your journey? If we think of coming out of Egypt as you coming into this knowledge of understanding who Elohim is, and now you're moving through this time frame, where are you? Are you at year 2? Are you a year 38? Do you even know? Have you asked him? What have you learned? What has he been humbling you with? What has he been teaching you with? Because trust that you are to leave something for those behind you. I believe that is a commandment. We cannot live and die unto ourselves. And it's not just your children, but your community. And so as MD was even talking about how she's teaching her children how they invest in other people, it's an investment that has to be made. In this realm of Deuteronomy, when we get to chapter 10 and chapter 15, it talks about how there's an obligation to care for the poor and what that looks like. Trust me, wealth is not just a singular individual thing. It is so far reaching that there is work that must be done on your part. So where are you in your journey? Have you crossed out of your wilderness into your promised land now? And if you are there, what are you doing with what Elohim has given to you? How are you building that land and growing that land? How are you making sure that you've taught your children? Charles's mom lives up, it's Mount Eldoret. It's almost on the Uganda border. And so it's hilly. And that's where he grew up. And there are still many people there with mud houses. Their walls are made of mud. Sometimes no electricity. Bathrooms are outside, no showers, no heated water. You cook in a separate little house, even still today, because we went to see his mom, my mom too. Some family members were there. And she had her little place, and she had some cows tied up and chickens running around. She was showing me, because it was my first time actually going on to where Charles grew up. And she was showing me the little hen house and stuff. And she's like, oh, you want that chicken? She's like, that hen. She's like, I'll give that to you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, no. I am not slitting any chicken's neck. I am not plucking any feathers. Like, absolutely not. And so they were joking. They're like, oh, Charles, leave her here so she can learn how to milk cows and carry water and stuff. And I laughed at the idea, but later on I was like, but this is wisdom. There are things to learn from that. I truly believe that there are, if I can just get over my little bouginess about slitting the neck of a chicken. And so we were driving back, and I love animals. And so every time I see little sheep and stuff, I'm like, oh, look at the little sheep. So we were driving back and we were coming down on the side of the road, this little hill. There were these little lambs and there were these two boys. Gosh, I'm telling you, those boys couldn't, two of them, maybe, maybe 9, maybe 7. And they had a stick and there were no other adults around, but I knew that they were moving the sheep for grazing, little sheep. And I was like, oh my gosh, Charles, there's no adult with them. And at first I was like, how terrible the parents to just leave the children unattended. And Charles is like, they were raised to do that. They saw their parents do it and they learned how to do it. And now they can move the sheep to graze. And I was like, oh, huh, okay. Like it's stuck. I'm like, they learned that they learn how to be shepherds from watching their parents. That's food for them, right? You can sell the wool, you can sell the meat, you can multiply them. And so I thought of it because MD was talking about how she taught her children how to invest, but this is so wealth and and to look at them initially from me sitting in my car with clean clothes on, looking at these kids, I had to check myself because what do I know about wealth? Really? What do I know about taking care of produce and things that have been given to me? Am I a good steward? Am I doing what was taught to me? What am I teaching and what will I teach to our 3 sons? What will we teach them about business? What will we teach them about buying real estate and buying land? What will I teach them about being global citizens? And so so where am I? That's what I kept sharing with you guys. You're going to see me go through this really personal journey on, Virginia, where are you with wealth? What are you leaving behind? What do you have? What do you understand? What are you sharing with others? Thank you for listening to Selah Sabbath Studies, where ancient truths meet modern life. We pray what you've heard today invites you into deeper reflection and a deeper walk with the Creator. If you'd like to join us for live Sabbath sessions, find the room on Clubhouse. And if you're listening after the fact, feel free to leave your thoughts or questions in the comments. We do read and consider them and will respond. Until next time, pause, reflect, rise. This is Selah.